Hi coaster people! I just got back from an awesome 2-day visit to Canada's Wonderland in Vaughan, Ontario, and I can't wait to tell you all about it. Let's dive in. Welcome back to Roller Coasting with Raven, where you can see new content come out every Friday about theme parks and roller coasters. If you haven't already, be sure to check out my other videos in this series where I talk about my visit to Six Flags Darien Lake outside of Buffalo, New York, as well as Niagara Falls. But you're here for Canada's Wonderland, so let's dive in. If you've watched my previous videos, then you know that we drove up on Saturday of the Labor Day weekend to go to Canada's Wonderland. One thing that I didn't know was that Labor Day is celebrated in the US and in Canada on the same weekend. If I had it to go back in time, and I might not have picked this weekend to go to Canada because it did show some decent sized Labor Day crowds, especially on Sunday when they had their fireworks. It's just something to keep in mind if you're planning on visiting Canada's Wonderland. So on Saturday of the Labor Day weekend, we ended up driving up from Niagara Falls to Canada's Wonderland. It was about a 2-hour drive. We ended up getting some Canadian Starbucks on the way, and oh my gosh, this stuff tastes real. Like, I got the brown sugar oat milk shake and espresso, and it really did taste like brown sugar. It was awesome. The paper straws, again, were a lot better than the paper straws that we have in the States, honestly. We ended up driving past Toronto, and I thought it was just really gorgeous. You could just see the buildings for miles. It was really flat. It just felt like it stretched on forever, like when you're staring out into the ocean at the beach. And Canada's Wonderland was not hidden at all, like Darien Lake was. You could see it, really 5 minutes away. I started to see Leviathan, Behemoth, some of their taller coasters peeking up out of that skyline, and I was so pumped. We entered the park. It was so awesome. We were driving right next to the coasters. It was gorgeous. Now, one thing that we didn't know about before we got there, and this is probably going to make me sound like a GP, is that Canada's Wonderland does do early entry for pass holders, so we could have gotten there an hour earlier. Honestly, with the drive time, it was perfect to arrive at 10 a.m. when we did. If you know me, you know that I'm someone who carries medical equipment. Sometimes that requires me to carry a bag that is a little beyond measurements for the park or the measurements for a specific ride to go in a locker bin, and that was the case that day. So I walked up to guest services to see how I was able to get a medical tag, medical sheet, and someone ended up giving me this sheet. This is the sheet that they use for people with other physical disabilities or mental disabilities, people who wouldn't be able to wait in line. Me, on the other hand, I'm able to wait in line just fine. All that I need is a medical bag to come through the line with me. There's only 2 rides here, Yukon Striker and Alpenfury, where they don't allow bags of that size through because of their locker system where they put it here, and it's like your stuff goes on a roller coaster over to the exit platform, which is really cool, but doesn't accommodate to larger bags. It obviously doesn't have a thing on the back where they would usually list, hey, you got on this ride at so-and-so time, it was a so-and-so minute wait, so the next time that you can get on a ride is at this time, and I'm gonna sign off. It's just a sheet. It really looks very incomplete. I wish that they had something here that was more specific to medical bags. It confused the heck out of really every employee that was working at Alpenfury and Yukon Striker. First things first, I decided that on the day that we got there, I wasn't going to film really at all the first day. It's just because I wanted to take this new place in. Like, obviously I knew about like the major handful of coasters, but I didn't do a ton of research, and sometimes that came back to bite me. It was really enjoyable just to, put the phone down, put the camera down really intentionally and go through this park. The first coaster that we got on was Alpenfury, and oh my goodness, this thing blew my socks off. I was so impressed. Obviously, I've heard people talking about it. I was trying to stay away from POVs, but at one point I was like, heck, I'm gonna watch this thing. It just looked so awesome and whippy and intense to have that many inversions and elements that are packed into this really compact ride in like a minute's layout is insane. You got loaded in. Fastlane usually got first priority on what row that they wanted to pick, so we ended up sitting in the back row for our first ride. Very quick dispatches, very awesome loading time, and of course you have to be when the train has a 1-minute layout and you can only fit 18 people on each train. But they were doing a really efficient job of filling every seat possible. You take off, you go into a really little launch, and then you go into the mountain. If you don't know anything about Canada's Wonderland, Victoria Falls is the centerpiece of the front gate. They have little dive shows here and there, but they also have 4 different rides that are in and around the mountain. This is one of them. You go through the mountain and you have a launch track that ends up shooting you straight up through the mountain, pretty much 90 degrees and up and out. It's not necessarily as tall as some of the stuff I've ridden or as fast as some of the stuff I've ridden, but it is a rush. You're just going through inversion and inversion. You're getting whipped around really well. I think that this has some fantastic elements with it. I like their turnaround. I love the 0G stall. I love the corkscrews that you go through, especially the aggressive ones there at the end of the layout. My only complaint would be, since this is a new coaster and since we were there on Labor Day weekend and it was really busy, it was usually like an hour-long fast lane at least. Some of the coasters don't even have fast lane, about half of them honestly. So you really have to plan your day around what has fast lane, what doesn't, what gets massive waits for fast lane. A little bit of a frustrating experience when most parks generally have fast lanes for all their roller coasters, or at the very least, most of their roller coasters. Moving right along, we ended up getting on the Bat Next, my 299th roller coaster. I didn't want something like that to be my 300th because I was hitting a huge milestone that day. I wanted it to be something special and cool and fun, not super enjoyable, very headbangy. Definitely got a drink after this one. Leviathan. I hear a lot of people complaining about this coaster, about how it's kind of mid for being a Giga. A Giga is a coaster that is at least 300 feet tall. In terms of the ones that we have here in North America, Pantherian, that was once known as Project 305 or Intimidator 305 at King's Dominion, Orion at my home park, Kings Island, Fury 325 at Carowinds. I thought that it would be fun to have a Giga 300-foot tall coaster be your 300th coaster. I found this to be really enjoyable, really smooth. The line for it was never bad for fast lane. It isn't one of those that had like a bad merge point. You walked right up to the station. We ended up getting a front row, a back row, and quite a few rides there in the middle. This at night's awesome because you have this tunnel that it goes through and it has glowing eyes. And it feels like you're going into the mouth of the Leviathan, whatever that is. Another super notable coaster of the park is Yukon Striker. This is, as of the time of recording this, I believe the tallest dive coaster that there is. You get to the top and you kind of do this pan around. You can look out and see the skyline very fully. They have this at both of the Busch Gardens, Tampa and Williamsburg, as well as Cedar Point, a couple other spots around the world. Go around and then the train stops and hangs you like 90 degrees. You're facing straight down. It's just a really awesome rush, especially considering this is the tallest one because you get a really good whip, especially if you're in that back row. With this, I feel like this felt like the most full dive coaster where it felt like it had a nice big layout. I feel as short as the others in my opinion. It did have some of the newer vest restraints instead of the clunkier ones, which I did really enjoy because it gives you a little bit more flexibility while still being super secure going over your shoulders. And I really enjoyed this coaster. It looks gorgeous and it was a lot of fun. Close by to this coaster was Behemoth, park's hypercoaster, and it's definitely not the best hypercoaster that I've been in. Shout out to you, Diamondback. It is, but it's definitely not the worst either. It's whippy. It feels very well maintained. I love the fact that it was just over this little lake. You have an awesome view of the city, get great views of the park and beyond. The layout felt super long and feels super rushed. One thing that I came into being really excited for was finishing my North American Aero Suspended Coasters list. You've heard me talk about all these different lists recently. We got on Canada's, which is Vortex, and oh my goodness, it is awesome. Up the mountain, up that Victoria Falls centerpiece that I was talking about, and you land right on top of the mountain, kind of next to Alpenfury where it's shooting up. You get some really awesome interaction with the other coasters that are built into the area before you dive down. This is the most forceful suspended coaster that I've ever ridden. I thought that nothing could get better than the Bad at Kings Island, but this thing was a really great layout. Bits that were over the lake, especially those helices at the end, were really impressive, really forceful. We did this plenty of times. Vortex, awesome. Probably my favorite suspended coaster, but it kind of has to fight with Ninja and Bat. And Iron Dragon's good too now, because you get the good views of Top Thrill too. Okay, maybe I don't know. Maybe they're all just great. We also managed to catch both of the dive shows that they have. There aren't a lot of parks out there that have dive shows anymore. I mean, you've got Holiday Worlds that goes into just like a traditional dive pool, which is really cool. But Canada's Wonderland, they literally have someone jumping off of Victoria Falls. So they really hype this thing up. But really what it is 3 people that are making this big high dive jump, and that's the entire show. So if you're watching at Victoria Falls and you're expecting something more than that, like I was, then you might be a little disappointed. But at the same time, it is so incredible to watch people high dive in real life, and I hadn't before this. So Victoria Falls high divers, if you get the chance to view them, then I would totally do that. Across from Drachenfire, there is also another dive show that takes place kind of within this lighthouse. They have a great team of divers that are jumping around to sailor songs. They have trampolines and stunt show. There's a guy that comes out and does like some trapeze work and slackline stuff, do different series of jumps from closer to the water, jumps from higher up. This one was really fun to watch. You could tell that they were really having fun with it and engaging with the audience. Everyone was clapping along and really getting into it. It was so cute to watch the little toddler that was next to me that was just in awe of these people. I really enjoyed the dive show. A lot of fun for the family. In the medieval area, there is a show that is kind of a circus theme show. We ended up showing up about half an hour before the show and actually got turned away because this show is so popular. So if you get the chance to see it, I would totally go see it, because if it's good enough for this many people to be standing outside and not be able to get in like 30 minutes prior to the show, then it must be pretty good. Here's some overall thoughts of the park. The coasters, I mean, what was good, but what was bad was really bad. You know, you go to parks like Kings Island, Cedar Point, stuff like that, then you might have 1 or 2 coasters that you consider to be bad, like uncomfortable, boring layout, bulky restraints, something that you just really don't like about them. And then you've got a lot of things that are kind of in the middle. Think about your Gemini or racers or something of that nature, a well-maintained wooden coaster, something like that. And then the other stuff is just wonderful S tier, The Beast, Steel Vengeance, Top Thrill 2, Siren's Curse, stuff like that that is filling out the rest of the layout. But here, I noticed that those handful of coasters that I talked about were really good, and the rest of them mostly were pretty bad. Wildebeest was a really uncomfortable Woody. Both of the adult wooden coasters here weren't too great. SLC was pretty painful. So the food here is nothing to write home about. At Cedar Point, you can go and get steak and a salad. Here, I didn't feel like there were as many options. They were just kind of the standard American theme park fare options. The theming is really cute, especially up front towards that medieval area, and also the theme park entrance is just kind of like a big wow moment when you walk up and you see the falls. This is a super hot park too. If you have visited King's Dominion or Carowinds, then you kind of know what I'm talking about. Like I said, I really enjoyed a handful of coasters, but I don't know if those handful of coasters are worth the almost 9-hour drive for me. I love the overall look of the park. Would I visit this park again? Absolutely, but it probably won't be for another couple of years until they get something else. But I am really glad that I visited this park. It's gorgeous, it's got some great theming, and it also has some great merch. Tangelo has found me. Tangela, would you like to say anything to the people? I just wanted to give you a little bit of a merch tour from both what we got in the park and what we got outside of the park. First thing, probably my favorite purchase of the whole trip, is this cute little quarter zip. It is more wool than a Sherpa material, and it was really reasonably priced, I think, at like 80 Canadian. It feels like a really nice quality. It's a quarter zip, and you've got this nice pocket that extends all the way through. It's a cropped length, and it's got this cute little logo embroidered on it, Canada's Wonderland, established in 1981. So I really liked this. In addition, we got a couple of other items, including this Yukon Striker tote, and I just think it's really cutely made. I enjoy the little ombre die on it, and it was about 45 Canadian, so not too bad. It's got a pocket on the inside where you could put things like if you were having a pool day or a beach day, like your sunglasses and that sort of stuff. So yeah, super cute. Andrew and I both got Alpenfury t-shirts, so this is his. Next thing I got was this Alpenfury shirt. It looks a lot like the ones that they're selling at other Six Flags and Cedar Fair parks. Got one for Pantherian that I have the sweatshirt for, and I really like it, so I figured I'd get the t-shirt version of Alpenfury. So it's got this cute little design on the front, and the back is full of stats. So super cute. I mentioned in one of my previous vlogs that my boyfriend's mom takes really good care of our cat while we're gone. So we got her a magnet at Canada's Wonderland, and it's got like a little ticket front to it, and when you stick it on a refrigerator or something, then it'll show different signs on the side, the major coasters of the park and Canada's Wonderland. So I just thought that was super cute. I believe I've mentioned this on the channel before, but if I haven't, I have a severe peanut allergy. It's anaphylactic, so carry EpiPens, Avicus, Neffys for years now. I've had the allergy since I was like 6. So it was super special to go to Canada too, because I got to visit a local grocery store and pick up some yummy peanut-free snacks that you can't usually find in the States, or might be just a little bit harder to get here. So the first thing, we do have a lot of made good products here, but I usually don't see these apple cinnamon bites, and I thought it sounded really interesting. They're just little bits and pieces of granola. So that'll be a nice little snack at the parks or not. I got 2 different kinds of chocolates while I was at the store. One is Arrows. If you ever did Hershey Airs back in the day, I think when I was like 10 or 11, they started making them in the States, and then they discontinued them after a while. But Arrow is like the Canadian version of Hershey Air. So I got a little 4-pack of these, and they're really yummy, and they're safe for me to have. I also got something that you can get in the US, but it's something that is manufactured in a facility with peanuts here, and it's not manufactured in a facility with peanuts in Canada, and that is Kit Kats. So I got a little 4-pack of these to go along with my Arrows. Something I also have a big issue with is trying to find some peanut-free granola, because a lot of companies manufacture their peanut granola in the same place as their other types of granola, and I managed to find lemon blueberry, which I thought was a very interesting flavor that I haven't had before, and I went out and bought some lemon flavored Greek yogurt to go with this week, so I'm really excited to try it. The last thing I found was something I just hadn't seen in the States. Now, I can eat Sour Patch Kids normally, but I just hadn't seen this ice pop flavor, the red, white, and blue ice pops, and it was really neat because it had the labeling in both English and French. So there's a little bit of a candy haul of what I found in Canada with a peanut allergy. There you have it. That was my journey through New York and Canada. Be sure to keep checking out my videos every Friday, because we've got some really exciting things planned for the rest of 2025 and some really awesome stuff planned for early 2026 as well. Never too early to start planning these theme park adventures, so please stay tuned. If you like what you see, make sure that you like it, literally, and subscribe. Hit that bell icon to make sure that you don't miss a single drop. Thank you so much for joining me on my journey, and I will see you next Friday, coaster people. Bye!